going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is your preview for WWE Bad Blood 2024, and that is Jake fucking DeMARCO. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? I mean, it's been a busy week. We've had the debut of NXT, the 5-year decimation of AEW, and of course the ratings are out. NXT on top. Not a true surprise, but definitely nice to see. I
want to be fair, because I'm going to treat both companies the same. Like I'm going to do the close to thing. Dynamite almost hit 700. Good for them. They've been a lot lower recently.
Yeah.
NXT almost hit 900 and did at the high points. And this is WWE's third show, the developmental show, the one that lost the Wednesday Night War, etc.
Well, the thing is, it's like the viewership last week was at 702 for AEW. This week they're at 680 and 700 the week before. So they went down and down again. And now we're seeing this play out where we went from 620 the week before. With, granted, it's on USA to CW, but still. Yeah. So 620 to 895, that's a good size increase. So.
Yeah, no, I like taking the AEW conversation out of the equation. I'm the NXT guy. I'm really happy for this. I hope it continues. It is. I do have concerns on the other side of the coin. After we get past next week and they're back in the PC again. I don't know. I said it to you before earlier on today. I don't know how this new CW audience that has maybe never had access to this before, how do they treat it when it goes back to kind of being a studio show, like an Impact Zone-esque show? I mean, the numbers will play it out. I like the new look. We like the new belts. And I'm going to use this as a chance right off the bat to plug my good buddy Jake here. I actually finally got my ass over onto his channel, Countdown Ended, and we did a immediate live react to NXT this past Tuesday right after it happened. That was a lot of fun. You got to watch me fidget with my headset on camera. That's always good.
Hey, we had a great time. Got to get your sexy face up there next to mine, and we made it work. And work indeed. We had a great time, some great responses, and a lot of people enjoyed themselves, which is always what I want to hear. So
got a few highs and hellos from your folks in the chat as well. That was nice. So if you followed the Jake train over to Spaz Town, which is a horrible thing that I'm never going to say again, thanks for coming along for the ride. So going to do that
riding
again
down
soon.
to Spaz Town.
Guys, if you know me, if you've been following this channel for a while, I have done live stuff before. It's not exactly my forte, but if I can hop on and let Jake do most of the work, I'll probably definitely do it again. We'll see how that all plays out, depending on how NXT goes next week. I have a feeling there might be some chat-worthy topics, but we'll see what next week has to offer.
I think we might have to follow it up once again, at least while they're touring. It's been exciting. We've been having fun with it, and I'm telling you,
the touring is crazy when you think about just the announcements we've had this week. Speculation that Elimination Chamber next year is going to be in the UK.
That's massive.
We're not waiting until 2026 to have our first 2-night SummerSlam, which is huge. I really wish the Chamber announcement had been for Toronto, but beggars can't be choosers. The wrong side of Canada has I'm an asshole. The wrong side of Canada has War Games. That's the next thing I've got to check off my bucket list. We are getting a new 50,000-seater stadium in Toronto in the next 10 years, apparently.
Yeah.
So maybe we get WrestleMania back. Who knows? I know we have shitty weather. It's fine. Put a jacket on. I'm sure you'll survive.
It was cold for night one this year. I mean, no matter where you are, it might be chilly.
A lot of really good just like data, as they say, coming out of I'm trying to find the graphic that I sent you, and obviously it's way up our conversation now. They put a graphic out, CW actually did, with all the positive stats coming out of the debut on NXT, and it's good to see. And like, we can have all the fun we want as to, the rise of NXT and the fall of AEW, because that's definitely a book that needs to be written. I think some people on Twitter are already writing it. But on the other side of the coin, it is genuinely like NXT has been my brand of choice forever, for a long time at least. So, there we go. The graphic that was put out by NXT CW.
You found it now. I was looking for it as well.
Yeah.
So
895,000 total viewers, up 44% from last week. Peak audience was 965,000. I believe that was mostly through the women's match in the opener, which is no real surprise to anybody.
Yeah. They're up 143% in total viewers for their Tuesday night primetime slot, so that's incredible.
That's a stat from the network itself. The strongest telecast on CW this year amongst, I don't know how they break up these graphics, because they say 18 to 49 and then they say 25 to 54. So those, I'm not a huge math guy, but I'm pretty sure those two demographics overlap.
I think because it's 18, they don't consider them full adults, so it's like once they go to 20 whatever, then it's another range, but they still both count as adults.
Yeah, but the verbiage is adults 18 to 49 and then adults 25 to 54.
Not the clearest.
Why don't you just say 18 to 54? Why don't you just say everybody that's like made it far past the hurdles of puberty? Like,
yes.
Jesus Christ. Get the people that vote. They're the only ones that matter. Oops, sorry, that's the other thing that happened on Tuesday.
And then we're hearing about CW's reaction as well. Obviously, they're elated.
Yeah,
so
huge. I don't know what the investment is. I don't know the dollar amounts and whatnot. But whatever they invested, they got a great return on the investment on night one. Night two, we said it before in the preview. We kind of previewed both weeks because we were going to be doing Bad Blood tonight. I do really, really have a building curiosity towards next Tuesday because this week was the big event. Next week they've got something to prove.
Yes.
Next week they're in the city where the ticket sales weren't so great. Let's be real. They had to take the L. They had to move buildings. They thought they were going head-to-head completely with Dynamite, but Dynamite has kind of scooted themselves off into the corner a little bit. From a competitive point of view, we've downsized the audience, but the audience that is there, we're going to show you that you're getting your money's worth point of view. And from the card layout point of view, I think next week is going to be the week where they have something to prove even more than the more successful week they had this week ticket-wise.
Oh, absolutely. And you had the CW here saying that their original shows that they had in there for reruns, the most they were doing was 300 to 400K. So this blew that away. And the CW official...
That's kind of fair for reruns. To be,
yeah.
It's not quite an apples-to-apples thing, but it's still nice to hear.
Yeah, so they said that they were happy with 500K legitimately. That's the number they were expecting.
Wow.
Figuring that would be an increase over the 300 to 400 range that they got now. So the fact that nearly doubled, essentially, and a little then some... this number had them celebrating, is the quote from PW Insider. So awesome to see that.
Very cool. And again, to play devil's advocate, there's going to be a ratings bump on this first show because it is the first road show. It is the first one on CW. It is the first. What does this new NXT look like? Are a couple of those curiosity views going to go away? Probably. Like, let's be real. Let's not totally go into it completely blindly optimistic, but I don't think there's going to be the fall off that a lot of people on the other side are hoping for. So we're having it's a pretty good time, and we've got a pay-per-view coming up this weekend called Bad Blood. We've got the return of Hell in the Cell. Hell in the Cell isn't red. Let's talk about that. The shark cage looks like a different shark cage. We've got all kinds of fun toys and merriment coming off. Still a very small show. Triple H really sticking hard to this 5-match card, like the old school takeover layout. I don't know about you. I'm still on they could afford to add 1 or 2 more matches to the card. I think Triple H took the criticism a little too far the other way. Where do you sit with it at this point?
I'm unsure, honestly. I kind of go back and forth. I'm really not sure what to make of all of it because there's so many options and parallels and things that are happening currently. It's like I'm curious where to bite off on. There's too much currently.
Yeah, there's too much going on, and this is, I told you I had a surprise point
yes,
for our first talking point here, but it kind of branches off from this. We've gotten to the point where we've said multiple times that there's always a kick-ass pay-per-view, it's always a kick-ass layout, and they've always had the bonus of you've still got this to look forward to on Raw, you've still got this to look forward to on SmackDown.
Yes.
I think I think Triple H took the criticism too far the other way, and they've almost left too much for the weekly shows, and there's a little too much now, from myself included, saying that really could have been on the card.
Yeah,
So
there's been times where they've had these matches, and I know they want to build up these weekly shows as well. You know, like we were stunned that the Wyatt Six debut wasn't going to be at SummerSlam. You know, the Fiend's debut was. It was like, how is this not there?
the Fiend. To be fair, the Fiend debut, and I happened to be there, so I'm a little bit biased. But that was a match. The Wyatt Six just showing up.
Well, no, I meant that their match. You know, they had the match the night after SummerSlam, so their debut match.
Yeah. Right,
Fair.
fair.
Could have been at SummerSlam, just like the Fiends, and have that same parallel. But instead, they did it the night after to draw in a rating, which they got successfully. But like you said, there's a lot of times where we've had these PLEs lately, and it's like, oh, it's a glorified house show. We watch it, we have fun watching it, but there's not really much to report. There's not much to go off of because they're saving the story part for the weekly shows. And
I might have to back you up there a little bit, because I do think of all the stories that are going on right now, I do think the headlines are on this card. And we're going to talk about the card in a second. There's only 5 matches, which leaves us a lot of room to talk about other things. But to further illustrate my point, there's always something else going on. They've made a huge push for SmackDown before a pay-per-view, almost feeling like it's part of the pay-per-view.
Yes.
There's always something to look forward to, the Raw afterwards and whatever. But, as I say, there's now almost too much that we're saying could have been on the card.
Yes.
So what I've done with stories that are legitimately ongoing in WWE right now, I've built an entire second pay-per-view out of all the stories currently going on in WWE that are not on the pay-per-view. One of them is just a fantasy booking thing. The rest of them are totally legitimate stories that are going on right now.
Yeah.
So here I'm going to give you a quick rundown of my sort of anti-pay-per-view, anti-Bad Blood pay-per-view card. Like, if they gave you this pay-per-view next weekend, would you go see it, type thing.
Okay. And before you get into it too, one thing I want to state too is that kind of the thing is been working against and for WWE, so they're white hot, which is great, and they're going, and you're getting these incredible reactions from these crowds overseas for these PLEs, and part of it is like, oh my God, you see the audience in Puerto Rico or in France for Backlash, and they're making these entrances and moments great. They're singing and they're dancing, and they haven't shut up for a second. But like you said, it's also airing at 2 p.m. so they're not really putting as much into it because it's not a normal U.S. driven viewership show. Like, it's not U.S. centric.
But I will say they're benefiting from those places that they are going, because whatever time we usually watch the pay-per-view, it is that time for them. They are getting their proper, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., like, here's my evening at the wrestling thing.
Which they don't get often. So it's nice for them to have that. That's not a complaint of mine. But with there being less United States PLEs that are happening, and it almost feels like, oh, we used to always build towards the pay-per-views, and now we're kind of doing a little less of that. Now we're building towards Bad Blood heavily because of how, we haven't had anything since SummerSlam. There's been more time in between to kind of let things build, grow, and have some of that space.
I think they built this to be a show on the night, but given you room to think past it to Survivor Series. And
where do we go from here?
And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. You and I had that conversation not too long ago about TNA and their, like, sort of B shows that are still great, but I've come out of a couple of them saying I enjoyed myself. But again, what did I say to you last time there was one? Do I really have anything to specifically talk about? Like, the biggest thing coming out of the last one was the horrible news about Steph DeLander and her obviously going in and getting surgery and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think because the B shows have been so inflated this year with this international strategy and whatever, we've kind of left in the rearview mirror the fact that they are B shows. You should be allowed to take it as a show on the night and still think of the bigger thing that's not that far away.
Yes.
But you hit on something that I was planning on hitting on later as well. This is, I think, the only B show this year that is actually taking place in the States. So this is the first B show this year that's not going to have that international crowd enthusiasm. So that's something we need to touch on as well.
Yeah.
But to make my...
And it's got a special airtime of an hour earlier than the normal as well.
Yeah, so. that's just a UFC thing, which I get. They're a company of two halves. They're trying to feed both halves. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it either, but it still is interesting to see them do that. I mean, these are all the things that the pay-per-views were never on Saturdays, always Sundays. They always air at the same time. Like there was never a discrepancy, and now it's this. Hey, we kind of have it where we plan to have it.
Yeah, but I think, like, what was dictated before by, like, the pay-per-view providers and whatever, like, WWE has the reins themselves, so why not constantly experiment? And, like, if you find out, like, I've always said Impact/TNA, they do their B-show pay-per-views on a Friday.
Yeah.
I don't know who's telling them that's a good idea. But if you have a pay-per-view company that you're taking your product to that says, okay, we're giving you the Sunday slot, that's going to be the wrestling slot, then that's what you have to do. WWE is now creating their own slots. So as far as they're concerned, as far as gathering their own data, like ever since the network became a thing, like why wouldn't you try every slot and see which one works the best? And like I say, the international shows, I don't mind a decent like lunchtime show and then I go on with the rest of my day, but that's me. I don't have as full of a schedule as some people. But I do want to hop on this really quick just to illustrate my point of everything that's not on the card. The anti-card, the anti-bad blood pay-per-view that you could do with all the stories that are legitimately going on right now, except for one that I threw in for fun.
With everything that we're not seeing on the show.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna run through the card, bang, bang, bang. You tell me if they were selling tickets for this next week, would you go to this show?
You just let me know where you fit in the Oceanic Tournament from Jericho.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I don't hate Jericho. I really do love how much he winds up AEW fans, but I saw that belt and I'm like, holy Christ, you made a boat to put your own show on so your band can play in front of wrestling fans, and then you gave somebody Enzo's in the tournament, though, so yes. Fucking A, let's get in. Anyways, so I'm going to go...
You know how I feel about him.
Enzo should come back just like Zachary Wentz came back, but that's
I miss Enzo. He was the man.
For another day. Can you imagine all the wokies out there getting absolutely pissed off if your next NXT World Tag Team Champions were Enzo Amore and Zachary Wentz?
Right?
Let's go.
The canceled have come back.
Wentz can do all the cool shit that he did this week on NXT, and Enzo can stand on the apron and shuffle his feet and make more people cheer than AEW. Oh, yes. So, I'm going to go quick fire through the card, and after I'm done, you tell me if you would go to this show. Braun Strowman versus Bronson Reed in the wildest stipulation you can imagine. Fatal 4-way. Santos Escobar, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, and LA Knight for the U.S. title. Gorillas of Destiny versus the Prophets versus DIY for the tag titles, which, to be fair, we're getting this Friday. Kabuki Warriors versus Jade and Bianca for the women's tag. Woods versus Kofi, or Waller versus Theory. Not both. Pick one. The one that I stuck in there for fun is the Wyatt Six versus the Final Testament in some kind of hardcore match. Lyra Valkyria, Caden Carter, and Katana Chance versus the PFC. And in your main event, Gunther versus Zayn for the world title.
Ooh. Now... So starting off, I like the way we're starting off with Bronson and Braun. As much as this was a really cool way to end the night, I almost wish they didn't do the ring break spot again.
Yeah, they're getting hell for that. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I mean, like, I kind of see what people are saying because they've done it so many times now. It doesn't feel as worthy or as chaotic and random as it did before. Like, you didn't expect it when they brought it back. When it was Big Show and Braun, you were like, holy hell, you know, that they did it. And then I think it was Bobby Lashley as well at some point.
Yep. Mark Henry Big Show did it, or did you just say that?
No, they did it as well, and it was like, you know, so you kind of had the original, and then from there it would happen a few times, and you'd be like, oh, every couple of years. But I feel like, especially with
the conversation around this sort of like the big beefy division they have around the Intercontinental Championship right now, or they did until Jay took it. I think everybody kind of wanted it, so even if it's lame, like, it's, you know, people chanting for tables and you pull out a table, people were kind of expecting the spot, so you do it. And it doesn't have the same wow factor as when the first time you saw it, obviously.
No, but it also, I think, is the way it happened this time, too. They were kind of at a detriment because it was just like, oh, the turnbuckles kind of fell over. It didn't look like the ring really collapsed. Yeah. It was just the ropes collapsing.
I'm not sure of how it works, but apparently there's like an extra pocket under the ring when they know they're going to do this, and it didn't deflate as fast as... But I don't care, man. Like, they did some cool shit, and they broke some shit, and they landed ended
to a
on
really
some
great
fans.
ending. Yeah,
Yeah.
they toppled over fans. They went all over the place. They
The
threw a
return of Seth
fan.
Rollins. The thing is about it is I'm a huge Rollins guy, and even me being a huge Rollins guy, Rollins' return at the end almost seems like an afterthought because I just let the big dudes hit each other.
Yeah, and with Rollins returning, getting the stomp, he gets his revenge. It makes sense. It gives Braun the win, but the ability to be like, hey, you know, that again, that any given Sunday, each guy can win there, certainly. So that certainly is interesting as well. Like, you know, and so having this on the pay-per-view, I mean, the ultimate stipulation, I certainly could see this being a hit. So absolutely, I'm signed up for that. Your second match, go ahead.
Well, the one we kind of have going on already, Mello and Andrade, throw in LA Knight with the title, but throw in Santos because they kind of let the thread hang of Santos trying to recruit Andrade to Legado and him sort of taking a pass and going on his own, and Triple H does not, in fact, book all the same people in the same faction as much as Twitter will tell you they do. But I think Santos reinserting himself into the conversation, especially in a fatal four-way scenario where his backup can come in because a fatal four-way is no DQ. I think you get it. And Mello and Andrade are the story. LA Knight being the champion is one story, but the story between Mello and Andrade is the main thing. And I think Santos putting himself in the middle is going to have that fan reaction of, no, we just want to keep watching these guys go. What the fuck are you doing here?
Plus, adding him as the X Factor, I mean, you could make it be like, oh, wow, maybe he could steal the title. You know, they could build up Santos a little bit beforehand.
The easiest story for me to tell out of this would be Mello and Andrade cost each other, and then sort of in the other side of the ring, Santos and Knight, like one might pin the other, and there's your new U.S. title feud, and you continue the Mello and Andrade feud over there.
Yeah. I mean, they've already had a best of 7. Might as well make it a best of 100 at this point.
Well, you use the U.S. title to keep the thing going, but then you take the U.S. title away again, and the thing is still there. So that it's a testament to what those guys are doing. I kind of
You're 2 for 2 for matches too, because I mean, yeah, that's there, but I like adding in Santos because he's just floating, and you know how I am about leaving people out.
But the thing about it is he tried to recruit Andrade, and then nothing really happened.
No.
And current day, like Triple H, WWE, they don't drop a lot of threads like that. So I have to believe that's going to be picked back up at some point.
They'll have to get back into it.
I kind of cheated with the next one, Guerrillas of Destiny versus the Prophets versus DIY. We're literally getting that tomorrow. It's going to be a ladder match. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be great. That's the one that I'm really like, oh, wow. They haven't done much with the tag titles really at all. And since coming off of the Usos where Sammy and Kevin had them, they defended them quite often, and then once they lost them, they kind of just felt like jewelry wherever they went to, Judgment Day and so on. Even DIY winning, you knew was going to just be like a quick shuffle around. It was a feel-good moment being in Canada, what they were going to do for the night and the history, but you knew it wasn't going to last.
Right.
So if they're going to put more focus and attention onto the tag titles and them actually defending the tag titles on a pay-per-view, which God knows the last times that's been, there we go. So this would be the match to do it. I am shocked this is not on Bad Blood as is. Like, this is one that I have really a feeling like,
that these three teams in a ladder match are going to do an insane number on Smack. I'm not going to see it right away, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to see Joker 2 tomorrow night. But
good luck with that.
When I get, apparently it's getting shitty reviews, and I don't care.
You don't care. I don't care about the reviews. I just know that it definitely hampered my drive to want to see it.
And see, it's like the Jericho thing. It almost makes me want to see it more.
Yeah.
If he pops up in the middle of Joker doing a dance, he pops up, sticks his head between Joker and Harley, and be like, "Hey guys, want to join the learning tree?"
I just was not convinced this needed a sequel to begin with. And then hearing about the story,
I think it's going to be, from what I've heard about the concept of it, I'm more curious about the concept and how they pull off the concept than I am about the movie itself. If that makes sense. Like, what does that look like? We have matches with wrestlers that we want to see, and then we have matches with wrestlers where it's like, oh my god, what does that look like? I'm kind of doing that in movie form. But I will be coming back, and I will be trying to avoid spoilers, and I will be sitting down to watch this ladder match, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. People are pissed off that Guerrillas of Destiny don't come off as these killers, but they come off as hilarious instead, which for me is absolutely fine. Again, I cheated. We're getting it, I think, next Monday. Kabuki Warriors versus Jade Bianca. Jade Bianca popped up on NXT for the debut to help out Kalani Jordan, so that got them some big points with me. Kabuki Warriors are going to give us a hell of a show. It's going to be an excuse to give us sort of a mini rematch between Io Sky and Bianca Belair, because that match got insane praise from everybody, rightfully so. I don't like Bianca, but the match was great.
Yeah.
The two stories that we're building sort of at the same time, like New Day falling apart, A-Town Down Under falling apart, I made a point of saying, like, put one of these matches on the card, not both. You don't want to double up stories. Either one of them will be fine. Woods and Kofi are not going to have a bad match, and Waller, in theory, are going to have a hilarious match when that happens. Wyatt Six versus Final Testament, just because they're two groups that are right up my street. Let's just have them smash into each other. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Lyra and KC versus PFC, because we've got all of our initials going on. Other than the name, Pure Fusion Collective is a pretty cool thing that they're trying to do. They haven't reached it yet. It's another one of those that I've tried to explain in the past, where it's like, I see they have something.
They certainly do.
They haven't quite figured out what it is exactly. I thought they were going to be like a shooter type, like wrestler type group, and then it kind of feels like they're trying to be Lady Shield. And I mean, the Shield was ridiculously successful, so why not? And Gunther Zane, I am absolutely gobsmacked that they did not put on Bad Blood.
I am as well, but I see why they're saving it, because they don't have a lot of people ready for Gunther yet. Yeah. Really, essentially, and not a lot of faces either.
There was the tease of babyface Braun Breaker going up against Gunther. And they have history from NXT, so I know.
And you saw Braun Breaker come out, shake Jey Uso's hands, and kind of make that tease as a, hey, I didn't turn on you, I said congrats, and we called it a day. So could we get him as a face? Is interesting.
They didn't surprise me, but I'm more happy that they didn't surprise us, because if they had tried to surprise us, handshake and then a spear, it's like, okay, that's not a surprise. It's the most predictable thing ever.
Exactly.
So all of these
the non-attack was more of a surprise, and the story's fit, like you said, Zoe Stark and her trying to put herself over this past week, as in the group's form, and all of it works. So the Pure Fusion Collective match is good to be on there. Like you said, it does work. The name is a hard pill to swallow, certainly, because it's silly and whatnot, and that kind of takes away from them too. It's so unfortunate
because all three of them at various points have been hop on Twitter, hop on social media. All three of them at one point would be like, okay, this is the next guaranteed thing. Like, how do you not get behind Shayna Baszler? She was fucking Thanos in NXT. And Rhea Ripley, along with Adam Cole and Finn Balor, beat Dynamite.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoe Stark not so much, but she jumped in on the deep end, hanging out with people like Lita and Trish and Becky Lynch right away. She's got something. Sonya Deville not only is awesome, I've always got a soft spot for her because I don't think they've ever used her properly, and plus she's had a lot of horrible things happen to her in her personal life as well.
Yeah, her and Mandy worked well, but they never found what to do with the two of them, and they weren't in a capable spot to really wrestle yet, for what they wanted them to do.
They didn't. They were the rare thing of the absolute odd couple that completely made sense, and they weren't ever positioned in a spot to make use of a decent shot at those women's tag titles, which is super unfortunate. Apparently, there's rumors that feelers are starting to be put back out there about a return for Mandy Rose. I wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, it's a pretty deep pool right now as far as the ladies' division between Raw, SmackDown, and specifically NXT. Jesus Christ.
And your little dream match scenario there, because you got Karrion Kross talking. He put out a video before Raw the other day, so it didn't really make sense on Raw unless you saw that, which I saw after the fact. But he's like, I'm here to kill the old. I want to make way for the new. Because what he's saying was, when I got here, I was surrounded by legends, and they did nothing for me. I went
I'm
nowhere.
going to become a legend on my own terms.
Yeah. So what he's doing with Miz and Truth and Xavier,
you can call it corny as shit, and I don't. Here's the thing: I like the group because as a group, they look like the kind of group that I would like, right? But almost separately from that, this whole, like, I'm just going to be a pissant backstage, being a devil on any shoulder of any person that might be having a little bit of self-doubt right now. He's got to be, like, you got two separate stories. You got the turning of the Miz on R-Truth, which is going to get insane heat because people like R-Truth, which you should. Truth is great. And on the other side of the coin, you've got Miz and Kofi Kingston threatening to break up the one tag team that basically their identity became we're never going to break up. I really do think the solidification of the Woods heel turn is going to be him attacking Big E, and that's going to be heartbreaking and fantastic at the same time.
Yeah, it's going to be damn good.
But you've got the Miz story playing out, you've got the New Day story playing out, and the extra layer of we can all picture Karrion Kross out there, doing like Mr. Burns twiddly fingers and going, excellent. Because then you got like all these ragtag guys that everybody used to love that you've now turned into assholes. And it's like, do I want to see a trios team of heel Xavier Woods and the Miz and Karrion Kross? Probably not, but probably yes.
Yeah.
Anyways,
exactly.
But there's a million things we can pull out of this. I just wanted to throw that together and say, like, yeah, we talk about there's other stories that don't make pay-per-view. There's other cool stories that don't make pay-per-view that you could make an entire other pay-per-view out of it.
Exactly. And like you said, Sammy and Gunther has enough history. And then with Braun Breaker, and he was a champion for 51 days.
He kind of showed, I think it's kind of cool, even though he's a heel, they had Gunther show a little bit of, like, weakness on a mental point of view where he talked about like the loss at WrestleMania, which we knew they were going to come back to, and he said, yeah, I brought my family over from Austria and I had to deal with my dad thinking I'm a loser because you're such a loser and you beat me and I disappointed my whole family. Like it's a risky thing showing a heel with self-doubt.
Yes.
Because then if you're a heel with self-doubt, nobody cares about your struggle because you're playing a heel. Therefore, you're an asshole.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, we go to it. I don't want to venture off into the Vince territory, but this wouldn't have happened under Vince.
No, and then you got him saying that Braun Breaker is a badass, so that was interesting because it's like, all right, your 51-day reign, does that give you enough experience to go against the ring general?
But I want him, if they turn him heel again, like, because he when he came into NXT, granted it was under the 2.0 era, let's not talk about it. I like Silver NXT. It's good. Leave me alone with my Silver NXT. It's fine. But when he came in and they decided almost immediately he was going to be the guy on NXT, there was a little bit of Cena in there, just smiling a little too much. Then he turned heel, and then he kind of like accidentally became babyface again when he was with Baron Corbin, but not because he started being a nice guy. It's just because people started cheering him. So if he's turning face and being respectful and all that, I still kind of want him to be the asshole.
Yeah.
Like be the asshole we can cheer for.
No doubt. And like you said before, too, I don't think it really hurts Gunther having him, be that heel with a little bit of infallibility because, like you said, Sammy calling him saying that, you lost to a bum like Sami Zayn, your dad made you feel like a loser, and now you're showing that you're a coward, so it shouldn't have gotten into his head. It shouldn't have worked.
You'll notice the last couple of times that he hasn't come out with Ludwig either. Like Ludwig's got like separate feuds, and like I think he's back feuding with Sheamus again, sort of on again, off again, on again, off again. I think he's going to get involved in the Donnybrook match that he's having with Butch on Monday. So he's almost like they're still connected because they've still got the same Tron. They still call them a team and all that sort of thing. But Gunther out there being a heel, being a vulnerable heel, being a heel on his own is kind of new territory because WWE kind of invented factions, so that was cool for a while. And then, but at the same time, you want to show Gunther as this monster. He's not as big physically as he used to be, but just let him be out there doing it on his own, even as a heel. Hulk, I was there for WrestleMania. Hulk Hogan telling the NWO to stay in the back when he went to face The Rock. Like, it's kind of that.
Yeah.
I'm not implying that Gunther's going to turn babyface, but it is what it is. Yeah, no, I just thought this was a cool little thought experiment for us to start out with. So I say, Strowman Reed, Santos Mello, Andrade Knight, God Profits DIY, Kabuki Warriors versus Jade and Bianca, Woods versus Kofi or Waller versus Theory, Wyatt Six versus Final Testament, Lyra Valkyria and friends taking on PFC, Gunther versus Zayn in the main. Would you buy a ticket to that pay-per-view next weekend, Jake?
Absolutely.
There we
go.
And
that's without our top stars, too, the upper echelon, you figure. But that's what they're building off of now. And it doesn't feel like, SmackDown has a less than quality compared to Raw. Like, they both have equal footing in who has top talent and who they're building. But they're giving everybody something to do. The fact that Naomi lost and it didn't become an immediate triple threat was a great surprise. They're having the little odds and ends be thought out.
That's the thing. They're not even necessarily doing brand new things. They're just getting rid of some of the cliches. And that's all you need to be unpredictable. You don't need to stick a syringe in your cheek or have fireworks that don't work or land on a brick a couple of times in a match. You need to not even do anything. Just take away the predictable thing that people thought they were getting, and that's enough.
Exactly. And they're
the simple fact that Braun Breaker did not spear Jay the week after he lost the title to him. That's it. That's enough to make that segment different.
Exactly. And one of the things I'm looking forward to the most on Friday, funny enough, is the damn dumpster match between Michin and Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green has been so much fun, and Chelsea's little promos of her with the dumpster stuff has been hilarious. So
I'm sorry, I'm going to reiterate it. I know we've said it on 2 or 3 pods now. The rumor of there's going to be a mid-card women's championship. I know people out there have different opinions on whether we need more belts or not. If you create this women's mid-card title for the main roster and you don't put it on Chelsea Green or Mia Yim, you've lost it. You've lost the plot. Let Piper Niven go separately. Let her mix it up with the big girls on the big for one of the big main titles. Chelsea would be perfect for like a women's Intercontinental Championship, and so would Michin. And you could bring back people that they're not necessarily using right now, like a Candice LeRae.
Yeah, no doubt.
Candice LeRae, Michin in a decent title feud for a mid-card title. Have them be the Kalani Jordan of the main roster. Kalani Jordan's killing it. Kalani Jordan standing next to Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill and not looking a step out of place tells you all you need to know.
I was going to say, she didn't look like an underling or a less than or a charity case. No, not at all.
And the thing is, she is tiny, Kalani Jordan. There's a couple women on the NXT roster that are tiny, and I'm not saying that derogatorily, but you put her next to Bianca Belair, who they want you to think is, the next big hype and the most powerful person in the world, and then Jade Cargill, who is a skyscraper, and she didn't look small. Her personality is bigger than she is, and I don't know if I want to advocate for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they hotshot her to the main roster sooner than we think. Maybe post WrestleMania call up.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of unfortunate because you'd like to see her have a run at the main title at some point if they're going to bring her up, because not everybody gets to go back down. But I'm really high on Kalani Jordan, if you haven't been able to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's. I'm going to go from the bottom up if you're looking on Wikipedia.
Going into Bad Blood, I mean, we always have a lot of potential for upsets and whatnot, but one of the things that's looming over the weekend, before we even get into the talks of Bad Blood, I want to know, one of the things looming over all of it is the big guy is set to return. Do we see the return of The Rock at this point?
Probably.
I think it might be, because, I mean, we have this tag match, and if it really is going to be, what they want for Mania, I mean, they've really got either or for these matches. Do we have The Rock and the final boss, or is it The Rock and Cody? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs and a lot of exciting things. So you're thinking he returns. I don't know. Every time I go with it,
this match doesn't have a finish. Whether The Rock gets involved or not, whether Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Maybe they're taken out on Friday and they're not even a factor on Bad Blood, which would kind of be a cool storyline for them to tell.
Would be perfect.
With the explosive elements between... Before we get into the match, we haven't actually had a chance to sit down and talk about it yet. What about the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns cinema?
Ooh, yes,
on the field of battle there.
They did a great job here, and I know some people were getting upset with this being called cinema, but that's exactly what it was. Yeah. It was a cinematic angle. WWE didn't do it live in an arena in front of fans, therefore it was part of their cinematic
universe.
Canon.
It's FCU. It's Fed Cinematic Universe.
Hey, I'll take it. And you know what? It worked. It did everything it needed to. It basically told you both guys' motivations, their standings with each other, how they basically know they need to rely on one another to get through the match and the feud, essentially. Mm-hmm. So they know that, I'm going to have your back so you can have mine. And then the ending of you're in my way in life.
But see, here's the thing, is everybody was like, oh, like you're just calling Cody a roadblock. It's like, no, from a character like Roman Reigns, that's the biggest compliment he could give him.
Exactly. He's saying, you're the only thing that's keeping me from being me.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, it's the most begrudging, like, I was a force, and now I have to acknowledge that you're a force. I'm sorry. I'm still going to stick to this. People are going to laugh at me. I don't care. It should have been Jay, but Cody's doing a good job with it.
No, I agree, because it made sense. They built it up to begin with. I mean, they destroyed Jay and beat him down by attacking Jimmy to make him quit. I mean, that was the story of him just min-maxing Jay the whole way. And my God, I mean, you hear McAfee saying, the big guy's coming back this weekend. And then he says, is he? Which one? Playing coy, funny.
Do you know what I love about the cinema thing? And I don't think they're going to do this big dramatic presentation more and more and more times, right? But the conversation between him and Cody coming together, being immediately confrontational with each other, and then finding an understanding. And Cody kind of giving Roman the respect too, like, hey, when I came back, you were this big guy named Roman Reigns. Now you're the guy they used to call Roman Reigns. Like, it's hey, you were awesome. How come you're not awesome anymore? Like, we need that awesome back.
Yeah.
What it also did for me is, and even if I'm making this up in my head, you're now picturing him, Roman, having to go, not tail between his legs, but sort of looking at the floor a little bit, and have that conversation with Jimmy. And have that conversation with Jay. And the one that's going to tug everybody's heartstrings is when he has to have that conversation with Sami Zayn.
Yeah, and
it puts it, even if they never do it, they've created that mental image, that mental, like, I hate the phrase, but like this come to Jesus meeting.
Yes.
That Roman has to have with everybody. On a much larger scale than, say, we told the cool story of, Jay being shunned on Raw by everybody because, hey, we remember what you did. Well, here's the reason why you did what you did.
Yeah.
Now, the only problem I'll have, and this is on the other side of the coin, that big face-to-face in the empty arena thing felt like it should have been a promo for these two having another match, rather than them coming together to face Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu.
And I think that's the point, because you figured if they would be getting back together, it would be to face each other, not to be on the same side and fighting a new bloodline. Cody thought that the bloodline would be demolished and just completely done with after he destroyed their tribal chief. But from the ashes, Solo Sikoa rose up and basically made the new bloodline, and he's got his new disciples on the sides of him. And I don't know. I wonder, is there enough here for them to give the new team the nod? Do they give the new blood the go?
No.
You say no. See,
here's the thing, because Roman, even in defeat, even in his absent, Roman has been more cheered while he's been absent than when he was the champion. And when he was the champion, he was the biggest asshole in the company, but people were still cheering for him. People were still like his entrance has no words, and people were still singing it.
Yeah.
Like when he was going on to the ring and whatever. I don't think this larger than life like Roman Reigns returning is 2024's John Cena coming back.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
He is the biggest star they have besides Cody. And
he is the biggest return of somebody that's not a legitimate like part-timer, right? So this big return and the guy that's carrying the gold for the whole company coming together, unless there is a massive, like, Solo, Jacob, Tama, Tonga, The Rock comes back, Hikuleo debuts. Like, unless there is a massacre, there's no way these guys are losing. That's why I say this match goes to a no contest.
See, I go the other way with it, just with how I'm thinking, because I think the main focus of the story has to be, can they coexist?
Yes.
And obviously that's where they want to go with this. But I think they can also, and they've kind of like, they didn't shoot themselves in the foot, but they kind of undermined the bloodline now, because they're not really saying like, oh, can they topple them? They're saying, oh, can they just function as a team to get through the bloodline? So they're acting like they're just going to bulldoze them, and it's like, well, then what? Roman beat the bloodline, he toppled Solo. So I feel like here needs the heat conclusion that builds to...
Oh, I think you could get a heat conclusion. Like, even if Cody and Roman win, they're not walking out of there. That part of the domination, okay. But I don't think you see Roman take a pin, because remember how long they went without beating him at all, and then one of the Usos beat him, and that was fucking huge. And then Cody was the next one, and that was fucking huge. I don't think they give away 4 years of pinning Roman Reigns means something. And like I say, Cody's the golden goose right now. What they've done is they've created a very interesting psychological set of dominoes so that Solo and Jacob losing makes sense. Because the whole story is Solo can't fill Roman's shoes. Nobody really takes Solo Sikoa seriously other than Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is somebody we want to see shine against Roman Reigns, but Solo Sikoa has been pulling on Jacob Fatu's leash a little bit because he feels like if Jacob goes face to face with Roman and is a challenge, that threatens my position within this new group. So you've got a guy nobody takes seriously, and the guy that everybody does want to take seriously is being held back. So you've created a psychological situation where it's okay that they lose, and it makes sense.
Now, what if Cody gets pinned? He's the one that has his shoulders down on the mat, and that's the story to run with. You know, you're back with Roman. You're supposed to trust him. He's supposed to take care of you, and it leads to you getting pinned. So you're going to have people like Owens, like Orton, who already said it's not a problem unless you make it one. So we have that kind of lying in the outside.
I can see that. Yeah.
Because realistically, what do we have after this? We have Survivor Series.
Okay, and I do want to touch on Survivor Series in a second. The moment that I'm thinking is on the other side. Like, as I say, Solo Sikoa knows that Jacob Fatu is more legitimate in storyline. People listening right now, please understand I'm only saying this in storyline. Yeah. Solo Sikoa acknowledges that his latest pet, Jacob Fatu, is actually 10 times the force that he is. He can't let people see that. So does Solo kind of have a moment of mental break where Jacob Fatu's got Cody Rhodes on the ropes, goes for the pin, and Solo pulls his own partner off to save his own image?
I mean, that certainly could happen too. And that's kind of what I love about this. There are so many what-if scenarios here going on.
Because it's so much more story than match, right? And the story is really Cody and Roman. There's so much more story than match, like I say, with most of the Bloodline stuff for the majority of the Bloodline's existence. It is the match where I'm predicting there's no finish, and it's the match that I'm okay with there being no finish, because no finish also almost makes more sense.
I do think that if there is no finish, but I think it's going to be more where if there is no finish, they'll kind of, Cody Roman win via DQ, but that's the only way I see them winning here. I really think they'll have them lose because they need to build for Survivor Series. And having them win here means that, or at least not get destroyed in some way, shape, or form. I mean, what's the threat? What's the challenge? What's the story?
What's
to build
your thought
into
on
next?
And again, I'm straying into like rumors and hyperbole, but there's an idea going on about there, because we've been thinking for the last little while that the Bloodline's going to get back together and it's going to be Bloodline 2.0 versus the Bloodline, but people are saying now that might not be the case, that they might put Bloodline versus Bloodline on the shelf momentarily, and this whole like Cody and the Avengers thing that they've got with Randy Orton and with Kevin Owens and maybe even bringing Sami Zayn over from the other side, would still be a fantastic match. It would still be, Cody saying Avengers assemble and blah, 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 blah. My only thought is the only other place you could do this where a pile of people match would be on the stage that it deserves to be on would be save it to WrestleMania. And that's a long way away.
Yeah,
because
I
think if you do Bloodline versus Bloodline at WrestleMania after you've brought in whoever else you're going to bring in Hikuleo, bring The Rock back, we haven't even had the return of Paul Heyman yet. Tell the longer story of Roman apologizing to his cousins and bringing them back, having Sami Zayn be the last holdout and all that kind of thing. Take it to WrestleMania, because at that point, whoever's involved in that doesn't need to be a champion.
No one does.
Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa don't need to be tag team champions by that time. I'm sorry, but as much as I love it for Jay right now, Jay doesn't need to be an IC champion for that match to be, like, potentially, if they tell the story right, that match could main event night one with no titles on the line whatsoever.
Yeah, he doesn't need the IC title, granted, no. And it's a hard thing to say because it's 14 years without a solo title, so it's like, if not now, then when? So it's hard to say no, he shouldn't have the title,
definitely,
but he doesn't
definitely
need it.
when Jay gets back together with Roman and gets back into the fold, or even before then, maybe Solo and his guys want to have like sort of a preemptive strike against whoever might help Roman, and then they go and they invade Raw for a night and they fuck Jay out of this title that he's worked so long for, as you say, and he might have joined Roman anyway, but now that's what tips him over back into Roman's camp. I think that almost makes the most sense. And then to go the other way, he invades SmackDown, and that's how Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa lose the tag titles. And then you have just no titles, no bullshit, no championship to be spoken of, just like 8 or 10 guys that want to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, they're just there to
I think if you don't do
names.
Here's the thing. Here's the ultimatum that I will give WWE. If it's not Bloodline versus Bloodline in War Games, then you have to save it for WrestleMania.
Okay, I feel that because I'm not sold that that's going to be what we get for War Games. I mean, we keep hearing otherwise that it could be a Judgment Day thing and Judgment Day versus Judgment Day, which I don't know how I feel, because who do we get involved with that, really?
Yeah.
I feel like there's not enough players in there to really sell that, but in a way it feels like it has to be the Bloodline. I mean, like, really. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I have an idea about what the Raw Elimination Chamber match is going to be, but that's another thought exercise that we're going to have in a moment. I'm going to plant my flag in the ground. I'm going to say this tag match doesn't have an ending.
Okay, I'm going to say they lose. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say that Roman and Cody... Bloodline wins, yeah. Okay. Through some way, shape, or form. The Rock returns, or I think they need to build them a little bit more to get the threat behind Survivor Series.
Because you know what it makes me think of? And I mean, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu are not comedy characters, so please understand that that's not where I'm going with this. But it kind of feels like Rock and Cena versus the Awesome Truth.
Yeah, I mean, it does have that, and it really does, because it's like, oh, you needed someone that's been causing whatnot. I mean, everybody's picking Rhodes and Reigns, it seems like, but I don't know. I can see the Bloodline needing this, and it is Roman, it is his return, but I don't know. I still see it as, how do they build to get
if they lose, it's gonna be because like everybody and their mother shows up.
And that's what I'm thinking. Gonna be,
I could see them saying one more time, like, Tribal Combat was created by Roman Reigns to punish his cousins. okay, last minute, I'm going to take your match and I'm going to throw it in your face, Roman. Bloodline challenges him to Bloodline rules last minute, and they didn't have time to assemble anybody, but they've got, like you say, The Rock and the Gorillas of Destiny and everybody under the sun, and, Naomi shows up for reasons. I don't know.
Yeah. Naomi shows up, and then we get, and
then a wild Naomi appeared.
Like I said, there's a lot of ways to go with it, and that's the exciting part, honestly. Yeah. I really feel like this is some of the stuff we were missing in wrestling for a time. And it's like, all right, yeah, they could win, and they could just be a very straightforward they win thing.
But are you with me in the sense of, like, if you're going to have a BS ending or a non-ending, it has to be in this match?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's the one where it's totally acceptable, yeah.
Yeah, right, this is where it flies.
Let's go to something a little bit more ridiculous then.
All right.
Liv Morgan versus Rey Mysterio with Dominic Mysterio in a shark cage.
Right? Doesn't this just feel like...
This feels like fun.
Yeah, it feels like Enzo's
It feels
back,
like fun,
maybe.
But it doesn't take away the seriousness of the feud, and I think that's the sweet spot that WWE has right now with all the Judgment Day stuff. It's a lot of fun, but the fun doesn't take away from the seriousness of the feud.
No, certainly not, and it's added to a lot of it, and I'm happy for that. That's one of the things that we've been missing is that just random chaos, and he's going to be in a shark cage above the ring. Like, holy hell, this is going to be interesting. I'm really. I'm curious to know, like, does he get involved? Does Dominic get involved in the match? Is he a non-entity? Is he? I think it's going to be pretty much how it played out with Jericho and Enzo and whatnot. I think Dom's going to escape the cage or at least drop something down.
Or get himself oiled up like Diddy.
He very well could. And he will find a way to be a factor as a non-factor in this match. And I think Liv wins. And eventually they're going to have one more match between Liv and Rhea, where it's a singles like cage match type idea or something, and that'll be where Rhea wins it back.
Okay, so I love all this. We know we love all this, but I have to be honest. I have to be fair. I have to point out a flaw when I see it.
Yes, go for it.
Why is Dirty Dom in the shark cage?
So he's a non-factor, doesn't get involved in the match, right? That's where they want him.
Because that's what Judgment Day does, right?
Yes, they get involved, and
so they're gonna take away the involvement of all of the Judgment Day by putting one of them in a shark cage.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a false narrative there where Dominic's in the shark cage and, oh my God, how can I possibly help my girlfriend? And then the other three show up and show that was a really dumb move. Or you make Adam Pearce look smart and say, yeah, I kind of thought that might happen. I wasn't going to bring these cages out for another month, but then he just brings out two more cages, like the cages from War Games. Just puts them out on the stage, and the rest of Judgment Day gets put in the cages last minute. If you want to make Adam Pearce look smart, you do something cool like that. Other than that, Dominic Mysterio sneaking his way in, sneaking his way out. I would love, because you could do this with Dominic Mysterio's character, I would love him to go to Adam Pearce like a Karen and be like, I'm going to call HR because you're putting me in that shark cage and you know that I have a fear of heights. This is emotional abuse and da-da-da-da. I want to see him try and pull something stupid like that.
Yeah,
because that's exactly what his character would do. He's male Karen.
Yes.
Like, his mullet is the male version of the Karen haircut, right? I want to see him pull some stupid, I'm going to call HR, or I've got the TKO board of directors on speed dial, and The Rock just comes through on a voicemail telling him to shut up, bitch. Or he's still going to be in the cage because you don't want it to be Schrodinger's cage. You don't want to have him actually wheel his way out of it. But you want to see him try.
Yeah, you have JD, you have Carlito, you have people that, because Finn's got the match later, and it all kind of, and I know this sounds stupid to say, it's like, oh well, duh, they do this with every match. It's about how long they want to drag on the feud, which we know already. Yeah, no kidding, that's with every match. How long do they want to drag on the feud for? But I'm saying with this, because it's already been going pretty much, continually now for the breakup of the Judgment Day since Mania at this point. It's been a real, quite a long time, and going back and forth. Like, I still think Liv Morgan's going to win, even if he's locked in the shark.
I do think she's going to win.
Yeah.
The minute they give you a stip that says, okay, the heel finally can't cheat, guys, it's like when they say, okay, we're going to put this match in a cage so that there's no interference. Okay, cue people hopping up over the cage and interfering.
Yes.
Liv's going to win this. As much as I hate it, I don't hate it because Liv's awesome as well, but like you want to get behind Rhea. She's the monster. She's the destroyer. She's the final boss. She's whatever.
Yeah.
But it brings me to, as I said, just about every one of these matches has a talking point attached.
Yeah, and a connected.
I think you think that
story.
the men's War Games match is going to be on Raw, and it's going to be the Judgment Day, and it's not going to be the Bloodline.
I hope not, but I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a thought, right?
Yeah, it's
I say
a
no, and I say if you have Bloodline versus Bloodline on SmackDown, that's two fully formed teams. There's no story. There's no old school Survivor Series, how did we put our team together story, right? So what you do, and I know people aren't going to like this because it muddies the title, water, and all that sort of thing. Rhea Ripley says, I want one more shot at your championship. But it's going to be in War Games. I'm going to put together a team. You're going to put together a team. And your team is going to see if they can help you defend your title. Like a Captain's Fall type thing, right?
Ooh, yeah, and
so
that could be.
So what I've got, and I've taken Rhea Ripley because I'm selfish. I've got Rhea Ripley recruiting, hopefully the new tag team champions by this time, Damage Control, as well as a double pop, returning Becky Lynch, returning Charlotte Flair.
Ooh, yeah, because with Charlotte not having anything to do, I mean, this is ready-made for her.
So what I'm asking you now, and I'm asking you to play along. I purposely didn't give you any notes for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, no.
Because I was going to throw this at you, right? So what I've got is Rhea Ripley going after the championship in the War Games match with, what's it got? Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte in her corner.
Okay.
You've got Liv.
Yes.
Who's backing up Liv?
So we need what? 4 altogether or 5?
4 to make 5, yeah.
All right. So I would honestly, it sounds like a quick waste, but with the way they're going, it's got a ready-made feud. Pure Fusion Collection going against, Damage Control has it and all that. Yeah. I see that being a win. So especially those 3, they could really do something with Liv. Zoe Stark especially, I think, could do some really fun stuff in the War Games type match. Okay. So I like the 3 of them being there. Baszler is a real, sadistic. She's going to be evil. She's going to punish people.
She's going to bite Becky Lynch again.
So having her be in the match is a given. You're going to want her to be there to lay out some true decimation and destruction. You have Stark being there to be kind of the X factor, but she can also lay out some good destruction. And then you end up, obviously, with poor Sonya just getting destroyed in some crazy table spot or something of the like.
And we would have to lean on the fact as well that both Sonya and Shayna are cage fighters.
Exactly. And I think that, really adds to their deadliness and their ability to get this done.
So who's the 5th member then?
God, I really don't know. I mean, do we grab someone that's a recent call-up? I'm trying to think on the heel side of things who we have on the roster that would be a good addition to this. I'm trying to think on the Raw side. Let's see. Current list. So I'm going through because I'm trying to think of who do we have on the Raw side for women that I haven't gone through. So we've got Alba Fire, obviously. Asuka's not been around in forever.
That would be really interesting with the other 2 members of Damage Control being on my team.
Yeah, being on the other side, kind of. But they haven't really shown her. I'm trying to think of, because you already have the 3 in them. I don't know of anybody else that's a single right now. Isla Dawn is with Alba Fire, their faces anyways, but I don't know. I think Asuka could be fun on that side as a heel, but I don't know if they want to do that. I mean, that would be good with Damage Control, especially to have her come back and not be on their side, but and that
have her be the surprise member announced on the night, and then Damage Control is heartbroken, and then they have to fight through the fight anyway. Have
And
her do the
into
Randy Orton
story
thing of
why.
like have her do the Randy Orton thing of like not showing up until it's her turn to actually enter the cage.
Yeah.
You could tell a really cool story there, actually.
That would be
well done.
Hey, look at that! I fell into that one. I fell backwards with your expertise, but yeah, I mean, really, I feel like that would work because Pure Fusion Collective, like I said, terrible name, but the three of them, they definitely have something. You don't quite know what it is yet. You stated that well yourself earlier, and I know that there's an it factor there with them.
Well, and I mean, I cheated huge. I didn't even look specifically to Raw. I was just like, who would be a cool double pop? Becky and Charlotte.
Well, Becky would be great.
Becky would get an ovation, and Charlotte would definitely get a reaction.
Well, especially with Becky being now on Rhea's side after everything that happened with Mania and the story there, that's huge. And then Charlotte as a like I said, that X factor for that team, totally unexpected. She gets the comeback. It's like, how does she fit? And of course, they can really just kind of add everybody in as need be. So I think they could make a lot of additions with this and kind of just be like, hey,
they're not going to give us anything as good as what we just came up with.
Yeah, and he also, Cody Rhodes said during the Pat McAfee show today that a video package will air during Bad Blood and reveal big title implications for Crown Jewel, and that's in Saudi Arabia November 4th. So
okay, cool. So we're belting up the Rock at Crown Jewel. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I don't. Sure, why not?
Right.
You know what? I'm sorry to keep going back to this. If they threw the belt on the Rock at Crown Jewel, I would just sit back and laugh.
I would too, because I mean, his ego would want him to have it.
Everybody
certainly.
would lose it.
Yeah, they would lose.
Everybody would lose it.
I wouldn't hate it if it's going back to Cody. Like that's the story you're telling now. Sure, go for it.
I'm going to save that till we talk about the last match.
Yes.
Damian Priest versus Finn Balor.
Now this one, oof. So Balor has been hit and miss. So they've had him look menacing and destructive when he needs to be, but for the most part, he's kind of just been that fall guy. Even holding the Raw tag titles right now, they're not defending them. They're not really like holding the division hostage. They're not doing anything of note, it feels like.
They have to fix that after Bad Blood.
Yeah.
I do understand pushing a singles match for this pay-per-view.
Yes, because of the story.
Why they weren't defending the tag titles as much. I'm kind of giving them a slippery free pass on that. If they don't rectify that after Bad Blood, I'm with you.
Yeah, then we've got a problem because it's been a bit too long, like you said, to have him be in that crap of a state. So I think they need to explain those things and they need to kind of start giving us answers. But Bad Blood, we need to have a conclusion to the Judgment Day face-off. So what do we get here? Damian Priest, Finn Balor. No matter what, it'll be a good match. I don't know who needs it more. I could say Priest does because he lost his title. He's lost his group. He's kind of on his own. I mean, he's got the Terror Twin connection, but really he's essentially on his own.
Here's the thing. I don't think Priest needs it, but I still think he should win.
Okay.
I think in this case, and I'm going to draw a really funky comparison in a second, I think because Finn Balor needs it, he should lose. Because I think if we get a Judgment Day version of Demon Finn Balor properly, like this combination, I can shoot my mouth off because I know I've got a group behind me. I've also got the demon side. I've also got this really sarcastic, sadistic, I really just want to ruin everybody else's life side. If they can find a way to bring all those elements together, like the sarcastic dickhead, almost like rockstar jock version that he's got right now, and infuse the very successful NXT version of the Demon into that, and we can get, like, I guess you would say, like, Ultimate Balor, or if you want to put a title on it. Yeah. I think if this was the catalyst for that, then
Uber
cool.
Balor.
Yes, exactly. But I think this is one of those ones, Damian Priest doesn't need it, but the absolute contradiction in the fact that he's 10 times more over after losing his title and losing his group is like, you got to ride the wave.
Yeah,
it's very much a Jey Uso thing. Have all the criticisms you want about Jey Uso. Oh, he doesn't put on 5-star matches in the Tokyo Dome, brother, but he's fucking over.
Exactly.
Yeet.
And he's
Yeet.
so over right now. And I mean, they do need to refresh some of his moveset. I mean, it's all just super kicks and spears at this point, so they could do a little rework with that, but yeah,
that's not true for Damian Priest, though.
No, it's not.
Damian Priest is fucking like
because
he's partnered with Rhea Ripley, right? Because he's hand in hand and arm in arm with Rhea Ripley, you forget how huge both of them are until they start moving around, and then it's like, oh, cool, a bus is flying.
Yeah.
Now,
the man that's a giant is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Here's where I was drawing a really cool comparison, and that I corrected myself mid-thought, right? Because Judgment Day and the Bloodline on opposite shows, they kind of ran parallel for a little bit. You know, they're running one show, they're running the other show. Both of them sort of lost their leaders in Roman Reigns and Damian Priest, or their leader figures, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, cool, Solo Sikoa and Finn Balor are kind of in the same place. Except they're the opposite. Because with Roman Reigns, he was the leader. He sort of gaslit everybody because he knew he needed their help. I'm gonna get through this thought.
Yes.
He knew he needed their help to maintain his empire, right?
Yeah, to
the
stay
guy at the top needed the help. In Judgment Day, you had a bunch of squabbly little rats who were hiding behind their leader in Damian Priest. Like, Finn could shoot his mouth off, JD could shoot his mouth off, Carlito, Dominic could get themselves in all kinds of trouble because Damian Priest would be the one there to solve everything. He was the anti-Roman Reigns almost.
Great point.
So Solo Sikoa failing in his role because he's trying to be an authority figure and nobody really takes him seriously, versus Finn Balor, who was in the Judgment Day, who were used to being able to be their leader, Damian Priest, was somebody that they could hide behind, and now his group is going to look to him for that, and he won't be able to fill that role. I thought, is he Solo Sikoa? Is he the opposite of Solo Sikoa? Because Solo Sikoa wants a group to follow him.
Yeah.
The Judgment Day group wants somebody they can follow.
Very true.
And I think that's a very cool thing. They're going to have to do something at some point where Finn lets the group down and then has to prove himself as a leader, which is typically a babyface story. But if they do that within a heel dynamic, it's just going to be, we're all assholes. If you want to be the leader, you have to be the biggest asshole you can.
And I really think they could pull it off with him. I mean, especially with them doing it as heels, it could work greatly. I mean, even Milo agrees. So, you could really badass Finn up and make them go to the next level.
Yep.
Whew.
I think
that's the thing. They never really pulled the trigger with Finn as a main eventer, and
they did, and then he got broken, and then
Vince
with his short-sightedness said, "We're not doing that again."
Yeah, they gave up very quickly after the injury. They brought him back, and he did nothing. So we learned quickly how that was not a thing destined to be, at least for Vince, anyways. But
I think for right now, because even Damian Priest showed it on Raw, even with Rhea Ripley not at 100%, he could go in and smoke the whole field.
Yes.
I think it's actually taking the train right off the track if he loses on Saturday. I think this is the one I'm the most sure of, if I'm honest.
Okay, I can see why. I mean, it does make sense. So,
you going with Finn?
I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going to be Damian Priest. I keep going back. I think Damian Priest needs it more. It's where you said he doesn't need it, but he wins. I think that Priest wins because he needs it here.
Okay.
I do think he still. I just think
and I know they're not technically a group, but when you see the moment, anytime you see an in-ring moment with Jay, Rhea, or Damian, they are so overwhelmed with how over they are. They always have that brief little minute before whatever they're getting into where they absolutely look like kids in candy stores.
Yeah, where they're just smiling and telling the audience they love them.
I'm somebody who's like ridiculously happy for justification for somebody like an Enzo Amore, like a Zachary Wentz, like a CM Punk, but you got to go really, really far afield to find three people that I'm more happy for at this particular point than Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, and Jey Uso.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, they just keep benefiting from it. Yeah, I mean, you saw Jay on Raw just not be able to get through that promo. I mean, he was like, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging with me. I love you.
Yep. I wish they had made that wasn't cut off and that had been on camera. I know it's one of those cool live. If you were there live, you got to see him make his after speech type thing.
Yeah.
I wish that had been part of the show.
Me too.
Extend the show by like a couple of minutes. I know you're going down to 2 hours. It's fine, but at that point you hadn't done it yet.
Yeah, you could have gotten away with it there.
Oh, really dying tonight. This kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's the humidity around of the fall air coming in. I'm telling you,
buddy.
It's the leaves.
I'm going to let you talk because I don't actually have that much to say about this one, but it'll be fine. Nia Jax versus Bayley.
So it'd be great to see Bayley go ahead and get the title back. You know, she comes and vanquishes her foe that took the title from her previously. It'd be like, hey, that's a great story to tell. It works out well. But I think the story that they've been telling this whole time, or at least going towards, and I want to see them probably go with that. So we're going to see them really go ahead and manage to lead the Money in the Bank to somewhere meaningful. And I think they're going to have Tiffany. I think the story really is there. I mean, we're going to see Tiffany Stratton taking on Naomi on Friday. So basically, Naomi couldn't get the job done against Bayley. We thought it was going to be a triple threat. That's not the case. They turned that into a different bit of story. So, I mean, that could lead to Naomi maybe turning heel and whatnot down the line. But still, Tiffany turning on Nia, I think everybody sees that happening. That's where it's going, and that's what it's building towards.
See, here's the thing, and this is it's plain as day for me, and I've said it to a couple of other people online already, and they think I'm nuts. But I've been talking a lot in the past little while about like WWE has to give us a 1-2 punch at some point. I think we get a double turn. I think we get the heel turn of Naomi and the babyface turn of Tiffany Stratton at the same time.
Ooh.
Naomi comes down thinking, or Bayley thinks she's there to support her, whatever. Naomi costs Bayley the title. Nia Jax celebrates. Tiffany Stratton takes the belt.
Now that I like a lot better than how I was thinking. See, I was just going to have it where Nia retains, and then eventually, not yet, but probably coming up, you would have her cash in. And
because you figure Bayley and Nia Jax are not going to have a quick match. Bayley's awesome. Nia Jax and her have awesome chemistry that goes way back to the early days of NXT.
Yes,
they're gonna. Nia Jax has been better. We've both said it. But Bayley's going to get the best match she can out of Nia Jax. So Nia Jax is going to be well done and spent. So she's going to be doing like that exhausted asshole celebration at the end. And Tiffany Stratton's going to have that moment of like, it's now or never. Crack her in the head, quick pin, whatever. She'll get the babyface pop even though it's a heel move because if you do a heely thing to a heel, it makes you babyface. It's that wrestling math.
Yes.
But I think...
2 negatives equal the positive.
But I think if you do the Naomi turn at the same time, you immediately remove Bayley from the title situation, which is fine for now. You've got a Bayley-Naomi feud that I could kind of get behind. And then you've got maybe a rematch later on down the line of Tiffany Stratton, who even as a babyface will still kind of be a little bit of a bitch. So they're going to be like snarking and catting at each other. Like going into, like, can you imagine friggin' Tiffany Stratton Nia Jax rematch at Crown Jewel, and they're just basically having like the best version of a cat fight because they're like Tiffany Stratton's way underrated in the ring. Nia Jax is better than she's ever been, but despite that, it just breaks down into a cat fight.
I could see it totally just being a demoralizing defeat, and
I want
from
this
there
double turn.
They just scrap. I like the idea of a double turn.
I want this double turn because a double turn typically applies to the people in the match.
Yes,
but the double turn in this case would be both people that thought they had backup didn't actually have backup.
Very true, and it would work on both ways. So a turn on both sides.
Okay, last week, would you have imagined me pitching to you, say, in 2 weeks, Naomi and Nia Jax versus Bayley and Tiffany Stratton?
No, certainly
Bayley
not.
and new women's champion Tiffany Stratton.
Yes.
Because I think that's going to happen. And I think Bayley and Tiffany Stratton would be a really fun tag team, actually.
It would. It certainly could go somewhere.
You know who's probably never going to be a tag team, though?
Who's that?
CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see them working together. So
this is good. It's highway robbery and promotional malpractice that this is not the main event.
I don't know how it isn't. I am still just.
It's the return of Bad Blood. It's the 20-year anniversary of Hell in the Cell. It's
more than that, isn't it?
It's the bigger 25. Is it 25? 99 was that the first one? 98?
No,
99?
It was 96 or 97. I thought.
Oh. What
97. I thought it was
90.
I thought it was 97, where you got Kane to show up against Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. But
oh man, if they use this just to have a third person get involved, oh my god, friggin' to set up the tag match for later on in the night and completely change the dynamic of everything. Open it up with the Hell in the Cell match. In comes Cody Rhodes. Turns heel, costs CM Punk the match. We build to WrestleMania next year, Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk, because AEW didn't get a chance to book it.
So
that's not happening, but
we were right. 97 was the inception. So Sunday, October 5th, 1997.
Oh, okay. I was a little bit off.
So, I mean, we're still getting it on the 5th, October 5th, Saturday.
Oh, maybe that's the thing.
So
it's
that's
on
the date.
date.
And it's from 97, so we're, 27 years, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how it sounds dumb. We talked a lot on your channel on NXT about like the look of things, like it matters for a couple minutes and then you're fine. I'm sorry, the red Hell in the Cell can fuck off.
That never worked. It didn't work once. It didn't work ever. It took away from every single aspect of the Hell in the Cell match. It made it even more difficult to see. It made it
was bright.
Feel like a toy.
Here's the thing.
It didn't seem dangerous.
I will go halfway because I am already way biased towards the WWE, right? I would have been able to go, if they wanted to do, like, have a red effect, right? Have it be like a dark red, like a crimson, like a maroon, whatever, something that still comes off as dark and you could still see through it. But you were fighting the shine off of it because it was so red.
Yeah, you didn't need a bright red milk crate, that's what it felt like.
And I mean, but they fixed it all with The Fiend and Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that they did. They managed to fix a lot that time. They managed to have the audience chant for AEW, which didn't even debut yet.
Oh my god.
Yeah, people always go back to '98 thinking that's the first one at King of the Ring. I think with Undertaker.
Oh no, I know it's
Mankind.
Shawn Michaels and Taker. I just didn't. I had my.
Oh, I'm not saying you. I'm saying most people forget about the Shawn one with the debut of Kane, even though it's the debut of Kane.
Well, because there's so much made out of the Foley fall.
Yes. Exactly.
Which is where I'm kind of with people where it's like that wasn't really a match. It was just two big spots. But well, look at the spots that they did though. Like
exactly.
It's not a bad thing to say that it was just two spots with some other stuff. Friggin' Terry Funk getting chokeslammed out of his shoes.
Yes, but it was spots that hadn't been done before that.
Well, off a structure that had never been
exactly.
Had only been seen once before, right?
Exactly. So that's what made it work, and then that's why we can't have a ladder match of 2 or 3 crazy spots. Really, maybe they could pull it off, but essentially it really this match called for it, works for it, and that's the thing here. The Hell in the Cell hardly normally plays into the match or the effect of what's going on.
Here's a question for you.
Just a structure.
Here's a question for you.
Yes.
Because Drew's not exactly a small guy.
No.
And Punk has had injury issues recently that some people like to bust him for, which is not cool. But
no, fault against him.
Yeah, fault against him because he busts his ass to entertain people. That's always a good thing.
Exactly.
But taking both of those things into account, like I say, McIntyre's not the smallest guy in the world. Punk has to be careful to a certain degree. Do they go up?
That was a wonder of mine. I'm going to say no. I don't think we see them leave the cell, surprisingly.
Okay.
I don't think we get that. I do think, however, we are going to see some crazy big, moment, though, where I don't know if necessarily, because I don't think they're going to leave the cage, so I don't know if they'll go to the outside where they go through, like, the announce table, but I definitely imagine some gigantic table spot, There's going to be some holy shit, I can't believe they went through with that moment in this.
Well, see, here's the thing, and you mentioned table spots, and it's a very, very similar thing, right? But, like, if you're up on the top of the cage, you want to think, oh my god, so-and-so got a whatever finisher on the top of the cage. But neither one of their finishers, really, if you think about the Claymore and the Go to Sleep, neither one of their finishers throws you at the floor. It's like Jericho putting the Walls of Jericho on Triple H on the table, and it's like, well, oh my god, he's doing it on the table. That must hurt so much. It's like, but it's not. He's not hitting the table. That doesn't quite work.
Yeah, and the thing here, it's like, who needs it more? That's kind of been my thing of the night to go by. That's my measuring stick usually.
Punk has to win.
Yeah, Punk has to win this. I mean, Drew. Punk could recover from the loss as well, but I feel like Punk needs it more. He's only had, very little in-ring, time since his big return, and this certainly, helps sell that as a big to-do of him coming back. He's a threat, yeah. I mean, we got away from the bracelet. I think they're going to kill each other here. And I just hope it lives up to the fans' expectations. That's my worry. I want to make sure that this really sells everybody on what it should be, because I don't want to hear forever that this was a letdown or that this, I want this to impress fans for the sake of it.
Like I say, there's no syringes or plastic bags or actual real bricks.
Yeah,
so
got to have those.
They're going to say that it's not. They're going to say that it's not good because they didn't actually kill themselves or engage in illegal activities. So there's that part of it, right? I think they go up. I think they tease something.
Okay.
I do think Punk needs to win because I think Punk... I don't know where Punk fits in on Survivor Series. That's my problem. So I'm thinking we need a win for Punk, and then he kind of fucks off for a bit. We talked about it on your show, but there's no pay-per-view other than the Saturday night's main event, which isn't really a pay-per-view.
No.
So give him a good long time to recover from whatever they do in the cage. They've both said they're going to bloody each other up, so we'll see how that goes. Let him get bloodied up. Let him be the guy that's old and tired of working with children and all that kind of thing, and come back for the Rumble. Because I'm sorry, I hate to keep harping on this. It's like the Jay thing, but this thing can actually still happen.
Yes.
The Mania.
Punk needs to win in main event.
Punk needs to win. Punk needs to win. No, I don't care about the main event. I mean, I do, but that's not where I'm going. I need to see Punk versus Cody for a title at WrestleMania. I need to see it.
I'm just afraid that they're already sold with either Roman Rock or Cody Rock.
Not necessarily this year even.
No, it doesn't need to come this year, but I would love to see that. I mean, there's so many feuds and matches that Punk can and needs to have that we haven't even considered or
the thing is,
at least seen yet.
They teased 3 right before he got hurt.
Yes.
Right before he got hurt, as we were going into WrestleMania season this year, they teased him and Drew, they teased him and Rollins, and they teased him and Cody. And I'm sorry, this is me standing on an island. I'm not necessarily speaking for Jake when I say this. There's a lot of things going good on the WWE side of things. We're winning in the ratings. We're winning in the demos. We're winning in the attendance. NXT just went to a new network and went live. We're going to Netflix. We're doubling up the pay-per-views and all that kind of thing. I need one more win. I need CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes in the main event at WrestleMania.
I think we can get it.
That's the last petty thing that I need. That is the last. That is the icing on the Tony Khan you can go fuck yourself cake. CM Punk has to win this.
Okay.
Also, because Drew's the heel, so if he wins, it's that built-in wrestling, this feud must continue. Yeah. And as good as it's been, I think I need to see CM Punk do something else.
No, I agree, because...
I'm getting selfish here. I want to see him face Ego Ethan Page, but that's another story for another day.
I mean, even that has a tease to it now. So there's...
GTS in the confetti.
In the confetti. So, I mean, there's a lot to still go off of.
Welcome to WWE. Our confetti works better than your fireworks. I'm an asshole. It's fine. Anyways, I know you got to go. Pick a winner. Punk.
I think Punk all the way.
Punk's got to win.
Punk's got to win here.
Or there's going to be fuckery. And I don't even, because nobody likes either one of them, really, if you go kayfabe-wise. People are really uneasy about Punk being there, and nobody likes Drew because Drew's been a psychopath recently. So if there's fuckery in this, it better be something that blows the whole show wide open.
Like, I could have seen them saving Seth Rollins returning,
but they've done that already, and he's going to face Bronson.
Exactly. So
I think it's going to be kind of cool too. Like, I know we're sidetracking now. Seth Rollins stepping back into the mid card in a not demotion kind of way, and just sort of I kind of picture him in the back being like, who do I want to work with? I will work with him. I don't know that happened. It kind of feels like that happened, and if Seth Rollins makes Bronson Reed his project, Bronson Reed's going to the moon.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But anyways, that aside, and Cody's on the other show with a lot of other stuff to deal with. If there's fuckery in this match, I don't know where it's coming from. And that's where I'm kind of going to say if there is fuckery, it'll be something massive that I'm not even thinking of, that you're not even thinking of. And even that has me kind of excited. But I'd rather there wasn't fuckery. I'd rather CM Punk win. I'd rather CM Punk skip some Survivor Series, go to the Rumble, win the Rumble, say, hey, Cody, we couldn't do it over there. Let's do it over here. Fuck Tony Khan. You're trying to make friends. You're not trying to make money. I win. I'm CM Punk, and I've been well fed. Jake, tell them where to find you. Tell them where to find you.
You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/countdownended, or Jake Countdown Ended DeMarco, and on Twitter at Countdown Ended as well. Still in process, but I think we got some progress. And you can find me over here on the Spaz Phoenix channel. That's for damn sure.
And check out our review of NXT over on Jake's channel as well.
Absolutely, and I think we'll have more to come. That's for sure.
Ha, giggity. And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Jake. This has been a very long-winded preview for WWE Bad Blood 2024. Thank you all for staying and hanging out and whatever. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Super Sexy Jake are tagging out. Bye, guys.
That's gotta be Kane.